Good morning and happy Thanksgiving. I know Thanksgiving was a few days ago now on Thursday, but I hope you had a blessed Thanksgiving. I hope you were able to gather together with family. I hope you were able to share a wonderful feast together. I hope you were able to take some time to count your blessings and offer thanksgiving not only to God but to one another for all the blessings that we've been given. And so this morning we have the opportunity to continue that thanks and to count those blessings. I don't know about you, but as I look at my life and I look at the home that I have, I look at the job that I have, and I love my job. I love to be a servant of the Lord. I love to serve this congregation. I love the members of this church. I've been blessed with a wonderful family. My children are grown and they've started families. My daughter is married and has 3 children, so I've got 3 grandchildren now. And you know, I am truly blessed. We have our needs taken care of and so much more than that. We are just abundantly blessed. I mean, you look at our lives. I mean, my wife and I each have a car. We have not just one television in our house, color television. You know, I remember growing up and just having a black and white TV when I was little was an amazing thing. It might have been just a 16-inch TV or even smaller, and thought that was great. And now we have I think a 60-inch TV in our living room. But that's one, and our house isn't that big, and we have 2 other TVs in our house. We've got cell phones that do so much, and we can be in constant communication beyond the internet. We've got everything at our fingertips. Food, there's no limit. We have any kind of food we want. We can go to the grocery store. Our needs are taken care of. We've got fresh water. We've got, winter's coming up, but we've got a warm home. We are blessed. And I hope you are counting your blessings as well. And this is an opportunity to do that this weekend on Thanksgiving, and again, Orphan Sunday's an opportunity to do that, to really consider how blessed we truly are. And in the Psalms, my lesson today is entitled Thanksgiving Sacrifices. And in Psalm 116 and verse 12, the psalmist writes, "What can I offer the Lord for all his goodness to me?" Again, God is good all the time. God is good. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. And, he has been so good to me. And I hope, and I'm sure he has been so good to you as well. And so the question that the psalmist asks, what can I offer the Lord for all his goodness to me? That's what we should be asking as we celebrate Thanksgiving, as we count our blessings. What can I offer to you in return? I can't pay God back. I can't pay the Lord back for how blessed I am. But what can I offer him because of all of his goodness to me? Well, Psalm 107, verse 22, the psalmist in essence answers that. He says, offer thanksgiving sacrifices. Tell the world what he's done. Sing it out. And so I see 2 things in that passage. The question is, what can I offer to the Lord for all the goodness for me? First of all, offer thanksgiving sacrifices. Offer sacrifices of thanksgiving. And what's a sacrifice? Well, there's 2 words tied in here. There's offer and sacrifice. Often we talk about offerings. The church will take up an offering. Now, I see that an offering I can just reach in my pocket, whatever happens to be there, any change, I reach in and hand it. And I offer that to the Lord. That's an offering. But a sacrifice is different. It's carried out in the name. Now, the idea in the Old Testament, a sacrifice would have been they would have taken one of their livestock, one of their animals, and they would have literally taken it and sacrificed it. They would have killed it on the altar and offered it to God. Now, that's a sacrifice in a double way. First of all, they had to kill one of their livestock, one of their animals to offer to the Lord. But it's the sacrifice is also that's their livelihood. That animal was their food. That animal was their warmth because they would get the wool from the sheep. That animal was their livelihood. And so when they sacrificed it, it was no longer theirs. They were offering it to the Lord. It was a sacrifice. And so it says here, offer thanksgiving sacrifices. Sometimes God calls us to sacrifice in our offering to Him. When we give so that it costs us something, not just the change in our pocket, not just what's the overflow, the excess of what we have, but something that makes a sacrifice to us, where it makes it where, this is difficult. I think of the story Jesus told about the widow who shared 2 pennies. Now, we would look and say, well, those 2 pennies, those 2 mites, they were called, those 2 small coins didn't amount to anything in finances, pennies. But Jesus said what made this such a great offering was it was a sacrifice because it was all she had. She gave everything. She gave all she had. That's hard, that concept for us, because we have such an abundance that it's, for the most of us, we aren't living moment to moment. They live day to day. We talk about paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes it's difficult to stretch from paycheck to paycheck. And for some people, I know it is day to day still. But that's what it was for everybody at that point. It was day to day. They often were paid daily wages, and so and if they couldn't find work, they didn't get paid. And so, to give that 2 pennies is all she had, and that was a sacrifice. Sometimes to offer an animal was a huge sacrifice because that might have been one of the only animals they had to offer. And they did that as an offering to God. Thanksgiving sacrifices. Second part of that verse, though, tells us that there is something more to that there's something else we offer. And that is to tell the world what God has done. Proclaim how good our God is. Sing it out. So offer thanksgiving sacrifices. Give something that hurts. Give something that's more than just the excess that happens to be in our pocket or our wallet, but giving because it's a sacrifice. And sharing how good our God is, telling the world what He's done. Sing it out. That's what we are doing here in this Orphan Sunday service today. And then in Leviticus 22 and verse 29, as it's talking about offering these Thanksgiving offering. The book of Leviticus was an Old Testament book that gave guidelines in their worship and how they were to offer and what kind of sacrifices they were to offer and how to offer those. And in Leviticus 22 and verse 29, it says, and when you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving. So if we're going to offer this sacrifice of thanksgiving to the Lord, he says, offer it of your own free will. You see, there were offerings, there were sacrifices that were commanded. God said, you have to do this. There were sacrifices that needed to be made to make atonement for their sins. There were sacrifices that were required by God. But the sacrifice of thanksgiving, this Thanksgiving sacrifice, is not a commanded. It's not something that was required in the sense of thou shalt offer this lamb or this goat or this bull or whatever it was that they were required to offer. It says It is to be given of your own free will. So not only are we talking about Thanksgiving offerings, we're talking about free will offerings. A free will offering. So what is that? What is a free will offering? The definition is a voluntary religious contribution made in addition to what may be expected or required. Remember what I just said about the Thanksgiving? This is not part of the required. This is of our free will. This is an addition. It's a voluntary religious contribution made in addition to what may be expected or required. So we have the opportunity, and we pledged last year what we wanted to give to help the needs of the orphan. And we do that on a monthly basis here at the Park Rapids Church of Christ. We support these children in the Learning Estate Orphans Home in Andhra Pradesh, India. And so as we support these children, we give on a monthly basis to help them and to take care of their needs, to help supply their physical and spiritual well-being. And so what we're doing is on top of that. It is a free will offering. It is a thanksgiving sacrifice. It's something in addition to what may be expected or required, in addition to what we have already committed or pledged. And in 2 Corinthians chapter 8 and verse 12, what Paul writes is, for if the willingness is there, remember it's free will, if the willingness is there, the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what he does not have. In other words, God's not expecting you to give beyond what you're able to give. He is looking at that free will offering as acceptable based upon what you have, not what you don't have. So he's not looking and saying, why did you give $1 million? Because you don't have $1 million. Now, if you have $1 million, or if you have $2 million, then obviously an offering of a few dollars is not going to please the Lord. And so we need to consider that God is looking, and he knows our heart. He knows what we're giving of our free will. And so our point here, what we need to do as we give to help the needs of the orphan, is we need to give according to what God has given you. You need to give according to what God has given you. And we all need to consider that. If we have been truly blessed, if we have an abundance of blessings, if we have more than we need, and we know that these children, they go very much day to day. And very often, if there weren't homes like the Learning Estate where these children are, they would be living on the street. They would be doing things like stealing or begging or prostitution just to make money to take care of their needs. And so in doing this, we are helping them because they are less fortunate. They're not looking at, well, do I have a cell phone or a TV? They're looking at, do I have something to eat tonight? Or am I going to go to bed with an empty stomach? So give sacrificially according to what God has given you. That's what a thanksgiving offering is. That's what a free will offering is. In 2 Corinthians 8 and verse 3, to wrap it up, Paul says, for I can testify. He was speaking about the Christians that he was referring to, using as an example for the Corinthians. He says, for I can testify that they gave not only what they could afford, but far more. And they did it of their own free will. That's all God asks of us, to give what we can afford. And these people, he says, they went beyond. They went beyond, and they did it of their own free will. So God has given us an opportunity to help those who are less fortunate. Pray about that. Pray for these orphan children. Pray for the orphans throughout the world. There are millions of orphan children throughout the world in so many third world countries that don't have a system to take care of them like we do in our country. There are so many children that's needs are not being taken care of, and we have the opportunity to help. And so pray, what is God asking you to sacrifice? What is God asking you to offer of your free will according to what he's blessed you with? So pray about the orphans. Let's focus on, again, what can I offer the Lord for all his goodness to me? And then offer thanksgiving sacrifices of our own free will. God bless, and I pray that you are continued to be blessed so that you can bless others.